Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the International Euphonium Summit Living History Series. We have our special guest today for his second in series, Francesco Manenti from Italy. Welcome back, Francesco.
Hello, Nicholas. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. It's a great honor to be here again. And thank you.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to catching up with you and your series and kind of rehashing your choice to not go to the conservatory, but a different avenue in life. Care to clue us in on how you managed through that and with your parents and what they said and how that interaction went?
Yeah, I was 8 years old and I was studying piano. And my parents just wanted me to go to the conservatory, but I didn't want it. In fact, I was just a kid, and yeah, music has always been a very important part of my life, especially now and in these recent years. But at that time, I didn't know what I really wanted. I was just a kid. So I said, no, I don't think I can match into this world. So I just proceeded my studies, and I was like a sporty boy. So I did, as you know, racing sports, a little of freestyle sports. I did also bow shooting, just because yeah, very strange sports. And I was quite good in all of them. And at the age of 13, I asked my parents if I could go and become a racing driver. Yeah, but the answer was no. And then I just decided to like, I don't know how to say it properly. I just twist a little bit my passion, and I went to high school, a science. How can I say? With scientific subjects and stuff like that for high school, and I went there at my 14 with the idea of becoming an engineer for racing car. And things didn't went as I planned at my 40s, because just in the high school, everything I knew was just what was mixed. Everything, my love for maths and physics just met my love for languages and ancient languages, and also philosophy. And when I arrived at my last year of high school, I just decided that engineering was not the thing I wanted to do. And it was not a flash choice, but it was it just grew up in the high school years. When I was 15, I started writing some piano pieces, and yeah, music that just before was like an important hobby, if I can say, not just a simple hobby. It was, yeah, quite important. Also in this year, it just grew up, and I started composing more pieces for different instruments. And when I finished high school, I decided to go to the conservatory, but for composition and not for piano. And the path was, looking back now, it was quite clear. I just started with the instrument I have studied for quite a long time, and I just started writing for piano. And then I had a classmate. He played violin, yeah, and I started writing pieces for piano and violin. And then when I was in the second or third years of high school, I discovered progressive metal music, and the one that blew my mind was Dream Theater. And for me, it was something like, I didn't know music could be like this, and I really liked that. So I started digging deeper into progressive music, progressive metal, progressive rock, and I started writing pieces more like that, not like the classical or contemporary ways, because I was playing that music with my bands. At 17, I had my first band. We were a cover band, like many you can see from guys from the high schools. And then at the age of 18, I met my drummer, who I work with since then. And yeah, we started a long path of research and studying music together. He is mainly focused on sound research and drum research, and he kind of like took everything we studied in contemporary and progressive music, and he developed it on his instrument, and I took everything I could from his technique, practice, and also our interplay, and I put in my composition style and composition path. And so I started at the Conservatory, and I was completely unaware of contemporary music, and I was just
in their terms, right?
Yeah, I was just listening to very complex music, but I didn't know where their origin were, and I just how can I say, it's not difficult to say, but it's quite difficult to make a clear picture. I was very enthusiastic, but I didn't know what was I was to expect. So I started my path, so doing all these kind of ancient harmony things, and the counterpoint and stuff like that. And I had my first teacher in Conservatory here in my town. She was very involved into contemporary music, and she said, "Why don't you try? Why don't you like contemporary music?" And I said, "I just don't know so much about it." And she said, "Oh, just try to listen to the one of the first thing was also referring to my background, to my metal and rock background, was the Rite of Springs." So she said, "Just go listen to it and make a picture of this kind of music." And yeah, I was I don't know if I can say, but I was really stupid at that age, because I didn't listen to the Rite of Spring, and I just took her advices and just put it in a sort of standby. And years later, I just attended one of the side course of the Conservatory, and it was my teacher who was teaching them, and she started do quite a clear picture to me and to all the others of the 20th century music. And but I think I know that, and clearly I didn't know that, because there I started to understand where the origins of my background were. I listened to Schoenberg, to Weber, and also Boulez and Stockhausen, and I clearly could find something that was in my background, but I didn't know why it was there. And some years later, I was, I think, 2022, I started working in a concert hall, and there at that concert hall, we just hosted metal bands, but not the metal you can hear at the radio, just like very heavy metal stuff.
Are you talking about death metal?
death, black metal, brutal, and I was there because some of my friends said, "Oh, if you need a little job, we have some spots, and you can just come here." And I was at first I was at the security. You can see, but I'm not quite. I am not this tall. And I said to my boss, if someone does a mess, I just run away. Don't think I will do anything because I'm not the right person. So I was moved to the ticket office, and then to the I did quite the last 2 years being the light guy and the sound engineer, the sound engineer helper, not the sound engineer. And there I at the first impact was this is very noisy things. I was used to heavy distortions, the guitar and heavy drums, but not like that. And the vocals were so harsh, but they moved something. I started, yes, I maybe I like that. And yeah, being every weekend at this concert hall was not just a job for me, but was, I can say, one of the most important things in my composition path, because I began to recognize every different type of that noise in the voice, in guitars, in drums. And for me, this was really the wall-breaking experience, because starting from that, I relearn every advice that my teacher gave to me. And I said, oh, but this work with voice is just the same you can hear in sequenza for voice, for example. And this work of drums is like the continuum from Ligeti, just in a different position, in a different genre. And this for me was the direction of the path. So I started from the music of today, the hardest and harshest music of today, and back into contemporary. So I really in that years I think I learned how to deal with contemporary music, and I really it was really it was the best way for me, for my background, to comprehend that type of music and why the research did that. So I'm not not every piece of contemporary music, and also the historical one, is nice, good. Oh yeah, I just hear it at my headphones before going to sleep. Not everything, but what you need to do is understand what is behind that, and why our musical path, our as a whole music community is going to, and where it started. So the path for me was just, the journey was from now back. It was like Back to the Future. So I'm writing things that are going to the future, but starting from now, I'm just going back.
A reflection of the past.
Yeah, it was just like that. And then I started also studying drums, because working with my drummer, I was lacking something in understanding the instrument, and something that I was writing for him just doesn't suit the instrument. So I said, the only thing I can do to understand it is just playing it. And for me, it was the right choice, not for my drummer, because we have a very different style at the drums. He he doesn't play in the conventional way, but he developed with his teacher a technique which let him be more free to move around the drum kit, but he had the cross arm technique, and I was the open arm technique, and I don't know how to say ambidextrous.
Ambidextrous.
Yeah, so if I started some tinkering with the left side, I for me it was just normal, and he said I can't do this, not because I'm not able to do it, but because it's your style. I can't match it. I need different months of studying for matching it. For me, it is a loss of time. He just helped me to reflect on how I had to relate with the instrument and with the musicians, because you as a composer may think about something, but the musicians sometimes know exactly how to do it in the normal way, not in the strange way. So sometimes I just switched the fingering, and he did the right fingering for him, and it was just the same. But for me, it was like, oh no, I wrote it, I want it, and it was not the right way. So I started learning drums, and then in these, I always played the keyboards in my bands. So I developed my keyboards technique, studying the Hammond technique, the clavinet technique, and also the Fender Rhodes. I had this wonderful teacher. He was really a great teacher. And I started learning also jazz harmony. And not only jazz harmony, but he was a progressive addict like me. So we started transcribing things and analyze a lot of pieces. And last but not least, I started learning also synthesizer and analog and digital synthesis. And so, I just made a sort of list, but this have been from my 20s to my 26, I think. It was a very intense period of my life where I really studied almost everything I could.
That's awesome.
And
so
yeah, and that led to these last days where I am not only a composer, but I'm also, as I said, an inventor. So I start merging everything I could to develop my style and my figure as a composer.
So it's really interesting for those that don't know what the inventing part to Francesco Manenti, and you can find out more about all that and catch the podcast segment that we did cover at www.internationaleuphoniumsummit.com/Francesco-Manenti. Links are down below, and link to Francesco's channel will be right up here. And with that being said, I'm curious about when your passion for ancient language and philosophy really started.
It was in the high school years. I had these great teachers. One was my Latin teacher, and the other one was the philosophy teacher. And yeah, I was really bad at English at those days. Maybe also today, but I'm just I was very good at Latin, and for me it was a very strange discovery, because I didn't study it before. And after that, I just had these my ex-girlfriend. She studied languages, and I started studying linguistics, and it was like a revelation for me, that type of approaching to the language. I also started reading things about Tolkien, so these type of approach to the language. And in my bachelor's thesis, I just merged everything with the Shannon-Weaver model analysis of the score. So it was like my high school studies with science and maths, my humanistic studies, my languages interests, and it was like the point where everything came together and
melded together.
Yeah, I was able to put everything into that work. It was quite a big book, and yeah, it was like the flowering of all that thing.
That's awesome, because as you're sharing with all the experiences that you had and you kept mentioning the origins and going back to visit where, you know, death metal, you know, the origins of death metal, where they got those types of segments in the music, and where the origin was, how relatable it was to contemporary music, and switching that perspective from, you know, taking each facet of death metal or black metal or whatever and shifting it through the lens of that facet into the contemporary music to come at how you write music and how you conceive music mentally and transcriptionally back through that lens. It seems like that the history of your linguistics and Latin help you able to shift it to view from the origins and look at the various different words that you can associate the original Latin to today's Italian. And it's really interesting how many, I studied Latin in high school as well and did 4 years. And I'm looking forward to being able to one day meet up with you and geek out about some of the transcriptions and viewing of the past like that.
Yeah, it would be great. Sure.
So that's really fantastic that you've taken your journey, and instead of going to the conservatory and learning it at such a young age, going through a high school in a traditional sense and focusing on science because you want to check the engineering route. And I'm assuming you did that because your dad was the mechanic for historical race cars. You kind
of I from really young age I lived in his shop, so for me this was the environment. Yeah,
that's cool. And then you found that it wasn't your cup of tea per se and didn't want to pursue that anymore, and really gravitated toward that back to music. Well, you never left music, you just ramped that up even more so. And
yeah, it was like that. And I think that the possibility which came to me listening to progressive music just helped to focus this like of this type of method you can find in mathematics and engineering stuff, but into music. So being able to tune the right sound to for your guitar, for your sound system, for your plugins using the computer, it was like it was not so different for me. But everything, the more I know, the older things seems to be not so different, and it is just a way of life for me. So if I'm in my composition style, this is quite crazy, I know. One of the things that helped me develop and go even further in research was just learn how to learn cooking in a proper way. So mixing my skills of cooking with fusion things and all kind of stuff from different cultures, I could learn. And cooking was a way to develop my composition style and composition method. So switching from engineering to an engineering passion to progressive music, it was just doing the same thing, but in a different room, just in a different room. And if I think about mathcore or math metal, math rock, they have the math word in it, so it is just the same.
That's a fantastic perspective, Francesco. I want to thank you again for joining us here today. For those that are watching, again, you can find out more about Francesco on the link below at www.internationaleuphoniumsummit.com/Francesco-Manenti. The spelling to his name is right there at the bottom left of your screen on his video box there. And I would love to invite you to follow us on the podcast and get the insights to listening to his inventing mind go off on the first in the series. It was quite beautiful. And then our sequence just before this episode, talking about the last time we had him on as a first in the series, the conversation we had that day with Dr. Stephen Barr, and that conversation and how that is really progressively built, especially the excitement for the mute that he has invented for Marina Bozelli, which is on our cohort as well, which they have a CD coming out pretty soon. Really excited about that. So excited with another one of our cohorts, Matteo Tundo, and looking forward to that. And all those links and everything will be listed below on his page at internationaleuphoniumsummit.com/Francesco-Manenti. Hit that subscribe and like button. Let us know where you're watching from. And until next time, everyone, Francesco, thank you so much for joining us for your second in series. Looking forward to covering your transition from conservatory to actual life experience and moving forward from 26 to where you're at now.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really glad to be here with you.
Well, we're truly honored and looking forward to seeing what happens. And for those that don't know where to go for the podcast, when it is live, I'll put the links below and on Francesco's page on International Euphonium Summit, internationaleuphoniumsummit.com/Francesco-Manenti. You're not going to want to miss that. Take care, everyone. See you next time.